Hi, my name is Alex Richardson. I'm the chef owner of RA Bistro located in historic downtown Lynchburg. I've had the incredible opportunity over the last 15, nearly 20 years here in Lynchburg, opening up restaurants and that continually rank as some of the best restaurants in Central Virginia that have stood the test of time, that have worked, and that are still up and running. And that's a lot to say. If you've talked to accountants, if you've talked to bankers or investors, even some of my partners, they've always said restaurants are the #1 failing business opportunity in America. I don't know how true that is. I've never really seen the statistics, but where there's smoke, there's fire. And being in the business as long as I have, I can see where a lot of people think that. But I'm not here today to talk to you about why restaurants don't work. I'm here to talk to you today about why they do work and how they work. Now, there's a lot of information on the internet. There is so much stuff out there that you can get your hands on that can tell you how to do this and how to do that, and pre-opening checklists and business plans and everything. And for me to tell you that stuff, I'll be straight. I'm not a restaurant guru. I'm not a consultant. I don't go around teaching people how to open up restaurants. I'm just a cook. I'm a cook who knows how to follow recipes, do what he does, and I just don't quit. So you gotta remember that part when you're doing your gig. So there's some things here that I'm gonna talk about today. And like I said, I'm not gonna be all encompassing. I can't give you all the information that's gonna make you be able to go out and open up a restaurant. I've been doing this a long time. There's a lot of experiential wisdom involved in this, and hopefully you've got some of those things. And that's why you're here. If you don't have any of that kind of stuff in regards and you're just checking it out, start doing some homework, figure some things out, and we'll get back and get rolling on how to do this. Because I'm gonna hit to the nitty gritty and tell you some of the things that really have worked for me. I'm not sure exactly if it'll work for you, but I can only tell you what's worked for me. And being, like I said, in this business here in Lynchburg, I love it. I have a passion for the business. I have a passion for food. I have a passion for people. I enjoy it. And that's something right there that goes a long, long way. You're gonna hear me say a lot of different things, but I will tell you, with this business, the people that get to do this business and they don't got to do this business do much, much better at it. So hopefully you're one of those people that get to do this. So as we get to do this, we're gonna open up some things, and one of the first things I'd like to talk about, and everyone talks about when they open up a restaurant, is a business plan. You gotta have some type of business plan, no matter whether it's a restaurant, whether it's anything. People think that they have to do a business plan for a banker or for an investor or something like that. It's for you. It's for you on how to run your business. If you don't have that, you're gonna fall back into what you've always done. And what you've always done, you gotta plan that out. So from a business plan, I strongly recommend doing a concept or overview. What is your concept? What is the restaurant you're gonna make? And get very detailed with that. You've gotta think about certain things like, what do you wanna accomplish? Who's gonna work with you? How you're gonna do it? Things like that. And then having some of those financials in there. Those financials aren't just to show the bank so you can get money to open up this restaurant. These financials are there so they're a good budget and they're a good parameter and measure of how you're gonna run the business, because why you're doing this is to make money. And that's one of the hardest parts in the restaurant business, because it is a nickel and dime business. It's a very small percentage of profit on a lot of work. But if you do it right and you do it effective and you can duplicate yourself with other people doing it, it's one of the most rewarding businesses. And I absolutely love doing it. So with that being said, have a really good description of your concept. Have a sample menu. What are you gonna do? And define that a little bit. What's your kitchen design look like? What's your style of service? Those things are very, very important. If you don't have some of those things and you're just, it's kind of out there and I'm kind of like this and I'm kind of like that, you want to reel them back in. Start reeling that in, and that business plan, that concept overview is going to help you do that. The financials. I stressed that, and I talked about that, but spend a lot of time doing pre-opening budgets. What kind of money are you going to spend before you open this restaurant? And then have an operating budget. What kind of money are you going to spend when you actually get the restaurant open? People think, oh, I'll worry about that when we get it. All I want to do is get the doors open. Trust me, spend some time. Get this together, organize your thoughts, organize the money, get the capital ready, have a good operating budget, and have a good pre-opening budget. You're going to be glad that you did. As you start going in, people start thinking about certain things, and what I recommend is making sure you get all your permits and licensing in order. You know, do you have your health permit set up? Do you have your business license? Do you have your tax ID number? These are things that people start putting together and they don't have it all. Well, we're going to talk about some of these things. You need those things before you can do some of the other things. So don't put the cart before the horse. Get ready. Get those things together. They cost money, they cost time and effort, but put those things together. How are you going to organize your business? And a lot of that stuff is in your business plan. When I'm talking in the restaurant and I'm teaching guys, whether it's in the kitchen or the front or anything like that, there's two phases that I normally talk about. That's called preparation and execution. The more time you spend in the preparation phase, the easier it is in the execution phase. And that just goes from cooking, that goes from serving, that goes from everything in my business. But it definitely works in how you're opening your restaurant. So in this preparation phase, spend a lot of time doing some of those things. One of those first things, like I said, is the business plan. The second thing I would probably start thinking about is the people. Who are your players? Who are the experts? Who knows what they're doing and how they're doing it? If you are that person, it's great. If you're not, who is that person? Let's bring them in, let's get them around the table and find out what your strengths and weaknesses are. Find out what role you're going to play in your restaurant and what role someone else is going to play in your restaurant. And start identifying and pulling those in and figuring out who's doing what and when they're doing it. Maybe write some job descriptions. You don't have to get all crazy and have a full manual of doing this stuff, but you do have to have some pretty good ideas of this person's role and my responsibilities and their responsibilities, because it's really going to really help. Because there's questions you need to ask. Who does what? Who's going to do the cooking? Who's going to do the cleaning? Who opens? Who closes? Who goes to the bank? Who does the admin? You know, who's going to come by and who's going to do your marketing? There's all these different roles, and of course I know you. You're a go-getter. You're a person who's going to tell yourself, I can do it all. And you want to be able to do it all, but I promise you, you're not going to be able to do it all. So start identifying what your strengths and weaknesses are and figure out exactly what you're going to do and what role you're going to play, remember, in the pre-opening and in the opening, in the operating. What role do you play in that? Well, I can do all kinds of things, and I understand that. Bring it back in, reel it in. You're going to hear that a lot, me say that. Reel it in and figure out exactly what you're going to do and what someone else is going to do. Once you've identified who those people are, and if you don't have their names, that's okay. Identify them as their roles. And then you can start recruiting and bringing some of those people in and hiring and thinking about that. After you start getting that in, have a good idea of how you're going to train those people. What are some of your non-negotiables and negotiables in what you want for your concept? When you defined your concept overview, you told yourself what you wanted. Are these people going to be trained accordingly to deliver the product that you want to be delivered in there? And that's one of the things in terms of doing with that training. So as we start moving into that, you go from people right into product, your menu. Do you have one? If not, do you have an idea of one? Do you think about it? Most people are like, oh no, I got my menu all written out. Okay, let's take a look at it. Is it too much? Is it too little? Does it match your concept? Is it already in town? Is someone else doing exactly what you're doing? And if you're going to do it better, how are you going to do that better? How are you going to execute that? So there's some questions I have about your menu, but when you're thinking about it, just make sure it matches your concept. Don't be all encompassing in the beginning. Don't do too much in the beginning. Give your menu room to grow, room to breathe. Let it be adaptable in the beginning. So that way, as you open, you're giving it room to build on it. It's very, very important when you're writing your menu. Does it look good? Is it readable? Is it friendly not only on paper, but is it friendly, digitally? Is it friendly where people can access it? Have you thought about those things, where how people are going to want to be able to read it quickly and make decisions? Those are things that you need to think about that. As you're thinking about your menu and writing your menu and thinking of how it looks and all the products on it, you want to think about things like costing your menu out. Because when you go back to those financials and those projections and those budgets, does the menu that you just wrote match your concept, but does it also match your budget? Very important if it matches your budget and your financials. If you don't have it matching your financials and your budget because you want to do this, but your financials say that, that's a recipe for failure. And we're cooks, okay? So we're gonna not have a recipe for failure here. We want to have a recipe for success. So let's start that in the beginning, and part of that recipe is going to be preparation. Spend some time here. Spend some time in this preparation phase. When you start thinking about that, where are you going to get the food? Start thinking about purveyors and vendors. What kind of relationships do you have? Where are you going to source this product? Is it going to be local? Is it going to be, am I going to get it from the store? Am I going to do, I'll just worry about that when I worry about it. Nope. Stop, reel it in. Where are you going to buy the product? How are you going to get it on the regular thing? Well, my Uncle Joe makes great cheesecake. Okay, can Uncle Joe make enough cheesecake to match your menu plan? You got to have that all in there. And is Uncle Joe a licensed vendor in regards of providing you cheesecake for your restaurant? Those are questions you have to ask yourself now. You can't wait till you're open and people are coming in the door to figure those things out. You are going to be busy, okay? Let's plan on you being busy. So you don't want to have the time to worry about some of those things. But as you start thinking about things in terms of what I call purveyors or vendors, who's going to get your food? Who's going to get your liquor, beer, wine? How about soap? Where are you going to get your soaps from? Well, where are you going to get your supplies, maintenance things? Where are you going to do for your equipment? Who's going to install your equipment? Who's going to take care of your equipment? When your refrigeration breaks, who's going to be that person you call? Where are you going to keep some of that stuff? Some of those things you have to think about now, and part of that is very, very important of regards to doing that. So as I move from product, the next thing I think about is the property, your location. A lot of people have a great location in mind. Oh my gosh, I have this perfect thing. It's going to be a restaurant. It's the best. And they don't worry about their menu. They don't worry their concept because they're all focused on the location. You got to have a great location, but you also have to have great people and you have to have great product. So when you're thinking about the location and you're starting to map that out, start thinking about the demographics of that location. Does it match your concept? Are these people that are walking and driving by going to come and eat in your restaurant? It's very important to think about that now. What is the foot traffic? Do you have adequate parking? Do you have adequate space for your kitchen and your style of service and your style of menu and your style of food? Did you allocate enough room to put dry goods? Do you have enough room for refrigerated and wet goods? These are questions that you want to ask yourself and allocate that out. People walk in and like, oh no, this would be great. This is a big room. I can put a bar over here. I can do this here. And they get in there and they have no place to put a mop or a broom. They have no place to put some backup to-go supplies. Or where do they put their napkins? Or where do they put that extra chair or the baby cradle or something of those natures? You've got to think about some of this stuff and allocate some of that space in that property zone, that property time now. Take some time when you're thinking about the property. Work with your construction guy. Work with the guy who's remodeling or refitting, or if it's a ground up that you've thought about these things. You don't need all the stuff, but you do need a lot of things to make this work and make it work successful. With that being said, you got to have like a layout design for that construction. Spend some time with that layout. Figuring out where things are and exactly where you want it is going to take a lot of pressure off of you during the operation phase of this restaurant. Exactly where that fryer is going to be, exactly where that char grill is going to be. When that food comes out, this is where I'm putting it. This is where this light's going to go. This is where this chair is going to go. This is where table 5 is going to go. A lot of people just kind of scribble the stuff on a piece of paper and hope for the best. This is a lot of money. It's a lot of time. It's a lot of effort. Let's make this happen right. So spend some time here as well with that layout and design. Draw it out. Make sure it works. Get the people involved that are going to actually be there. Give them, show them what you're doing. Ask them questions about this. Does this work? How does this work? Things of that nature. So then that way it works for you with that layout and design. So some key points. Do your homework. Plan it out. The more time you spend in the preparation phase, the much easier it's going to go.